Hello, D&D friends, and welcome to Holy Rollerz Descent into Avernus, Episode 4. We are the all-priest D&D show about the Divine Fellowship, an interfaith alliance dedicated to protecting the world from extraplanar threats. They may worship different gods, but they are united against the hells. And we will now do some brief introductions tonight. Holy Rollerz is a 9-person stream with 2 parties switching off every week. Let's introduce our cast for tonight. We are down Ryan, who plays Lachlan, the paladin bard of Sindel, goddess of love. So we will begin with JT.
Hi, everybody. I'm JT. I play Anduriel. He is the warlock of the Archfey Lord named the Piper. He's also the cleric of Naylock, and Naylock is the god of night and vengeance and spookiness.
Very good. Okay, Tommy.
Hi, I am Tommy, and I play Odelia, who is a cleric of Moiris, the water goddess, and also a barbarian, but only if you threaten my friends.
She loses her. She tends to
or the wee ones.
Or the wee ones, especially the wee ones. I don't know all of you very well, actually.
Yes, very true. John.
Hey, everybody. I'm John. I'm playing Thora. He is a druid and priest of Finhefara, the goddess of nature.
John, you shaved off all your facial hair.
I know. I got mad at it because it kept getting in my mouth.
It'll do that.
Ew, you guys make it sound so fun.
Yeah, I mean, it does do that. I don't know about you, JT, but I actually trim right under around here so that it doesn't do that.
I know when it's time to trim, when I can taste lunch after dinner still.
Yeah, that's a problem. Especially McDonald's, it stays in the beard. Tony McDonald's, when you have a beard. Oh my gosh.
Tommy looks so disgusted.
Maybe we should talk about D&D.
Okay, anyways.
Yeah, sorry.
Jabberwock.
Yeah, this is the beard maintenance show about we're moving on. Okay, so before we go ahead and get into our recap, we want to tell you about our contest. Do you love clerics and paladins as much as we do? Is your cleric, paladin, druid, or priest a total bad A? Because we want to hear about it. Please enter the Bad A Cleric contest. There is 1 week left by going to the Holy Rollerz subreddit and replying to the contest thread pinned to the top of the page, telling us why your priest character is a total bad A. We have about 11 entries now. We'd love to see some more. If you win that contest, you will receive these beautiful celestial dice right here. They are trimmed in gold, and they are absolutely beautiful. And you will also receive a beautiful hand-carved wooden dice vault from JBG Garage Crafts and our friend John Gaitan, who is wonderful and who checks in from time to time. We love John. John, hey, how are you doing if you're out there? So please enter that contest. We will go ahead and spam the link to that. Give me 1 second. I just need to paste and copy it here in the chat. And of course, Jeffrey will put it in the little doobly-doo underneath. Boom. So there we go. Spamming the link to the contest in our Twitch chat. And Jeffrey will also put it in the doobly-doo when he posts the video whenever he does get around to that. He likes to, vary off his time when he does that. So, and we respect that. But moving on. So we will go ahead and jump into that. Anyway, we have about 11 people who've entered the contest. Very cool descriptions of why their cleric is a total bad A. And we can't wait. The entire cast will vote. We have 1 more week, and then we will announce on stream who the winner is. And we will also post it to Twitch and Twitter and all of the places. So
it has been a lot of fun to read some of those entries and think about how they would interact with some of the people in our current group. I'm like, oh man, that guy would be great, or that gal would be great for Anduriel or for Morocon, or
Yeah.
So
also,
keep them coming.
Also, a quick shout out to my D&D party, who I know listens. There are a couple of clerics and druids in the parties that are pretty awesome. You should talk about them. I will abstain from that vote.
Alrighty then. Well, every other member of the cast will be voting. You can pick your favorite. And I don't believe we said anything in the contest rules about picking your friends. So I don't know that you'd be breaking a rule there. But
okay.
Yeah, we have 1 more week. We'd love to see more contestants enter. But time for some D&D. Let's get into our recap. So last time on Holy Rollerz, the Hallowed Council accepted 2 missions from the demigods protecting Horta. 1, to find a way to break the chains pulling the city of Elturel into Avernus. And 2, search the hells for the means to destroy the solar incendiators, the terrible artifacts keeping the city of Elturel and the city of Horta trapped on Avernus. Somehow, Sibella Gable, the child priestess and chosen of Morpheus, god of fate and deception, discovered the runes to a teleportation circle leading directly into the city of Elturel. Following Lachlan's orders, Aelin, Lavender, Gizik, Morokhan, and Sister Fadaver took on the immediate rescue mission into Elturel to rescue its people and also to find a way to break the chains binding the city. This leaves the task of searching Avernus for a way to destroy the solar incendiator to Lachlan, Odelia, Anduriel, and Thora. And so, all of you find yourselves in the basement of the Halls of Protection, the Temple of Bestera. The temple has been damaged from the battle out in front, where you fought to defend it from the Night of Hell and the first wave of invasion that came from Avernus. While half of the Hallowed Council takes the teleportation ritual into Elturel, bickering, trying to grab Gizik's mother's spellbook, and arguing over who's going to be the leader, the knights and the surviving clergy of Bestera watch them go. And as they step through the portal, they all look back at you with dubious stares and uncomfortable clearing of throats. And there's just kind of this awkward silence. And finally, one of the knights speaks up. You recognize her as the Sky Warden knight who flew Lavender in to attack the dragon during the battle. And her name is Sir Karen Merstrand. And she's one of the Sky Wardens. She's a Griffin rider. And so she just kind of looks around. It's all quiet. Nobody's saying anything. It's totally awkward. Sister Fadaver is furious that she wasn't chosen to be the leader. And then they chose Gizik. And then there was a scuffle because his mother's spellbook, and it's an evil artifact. And it was kind of crazy. So they just kind of went like a gaggle of hens through that portal, bickering and whatnot. And Sir Karen Merstrand looks up and she goes, "Well, that was less than inspiring. You sure you sent the right members of your club to that other city?" And Lachlan just kind of stands there in all of his 17-year-old, 18-year-old teenage glory, and his cheeks color with embarrassment. And he just kind of looks at the three of you like, somebody say something. I don't have the words.
I think Thora will step between the two and he will say, "Lachlan has proven himself to always have a plan. Now, maybe he sent those particulars specifically because they were more mentally strong for a situation like that. Whereas Lachlan and I, Anduriel and Odelia, we, not always, but a lot of us are very good with our words."
Okay, so she looks at you. She crosses her arms like this, and she goes, "Yeah, I can see the mental all over the place. There is definitely some mental that went through that portal." So at that point, there's kind of a bit of discussion, and an older gentleman from among the clerics steps forward. He is quite obviously an elf of older years, and he wears a beautiful white robe that is nevertheless tarnished by the battle that he was just in. And he steps forward and he shakes Lachlan's hand, and he says, "I am Protector Eleazar Eversoul, and there is much that needs to be organized. I do believe that it would be in our best interest if we were to perhaps have a rest, take a meal, and then perhaps organize things. No doubt the Night Lords of the city will be coming to the temple as a gathering place. I believe some of them have already arrived upstairs, and there is much to organize." And then he kind of gestures towards everyone to kind of like take the stairs up and to get themselves a rest. And he escorts you to a dining room. There's a huge dining hall in the Halls of Protection. and everybody, as you look around the dining hall, is just exhausted. I mean, people are like, they're eating, you know, there's soup, there's bread, there's fruit. I mean, everybody's just kind of like falling into their soup as they're trying to eat it, given what they've just been through. And the clerics of Bestera that are left are kind of just discussing the state of things. Now, I would like you to make a streetwise check, if you would, please. If you don't have the skill, remember it's half your level and your charisma modifier. Let's see what you overhear in the dining hall.
Whoops. I don't need to roll all
So
my dice.
I got a 22.
if we're not proficient, do we still roll, or is it just
Yep.
half our level? Okay.
You can make half your level and your charisma modifier if you have one.
9.
Okay. 9. You hear that there's going to be charades in the lobby.
That sounds fun.
That's what
Yeah.
everybody wants to do after a big battle.
Yeah, there is no lobby in the Halls of Protection Temple, but that's okay. But that's what you
perfect
heard.
place to hold that sort of event.
Yeah. You got a 22, Anduriel?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Odelia?
15.
Okay, so Odelia, with a 15, you overhear that as people are coming and going, arriving, some of them look important. Some of them look like clerics of Bestera. Some of them look like people who have just arrived at the temple for succor. They're looking, for help. Of course, the first place they would go is to the Temple of Bestera in order to kind of reconnoiter and find out what is going on and what resources. People arrive weeping and crying. They're terrified, and the clerics do their best to meet their needs. But you gather, as you're listening to everything, that some of the Night Lords of the city are missing, and some of them have arrived. So you find that the Night Lord of the Bulwark was the Knight of Hell. He is from the sector of the city that we have been defending. And obviously, he teleported away. But you also find out that the Night Lord of the Coins District is missing. And you find out that the Night Lord of the Shipping District is missing. So that's Lady Devois in the Coins District and Lord Vaxter. You find that they are missing. There are 4 Night Lords left in the city who are kind of trying to bring order and whatnot. So the Night Lord of the Windy Quarter, Lord Kalinor, is still alive. The Night Lord of the Fisherman's Way, Lady Celine, is still alive. Of the White Lily Ward, Lord Beauchamp is still alive, and of the Shield District, Lord Foster is still alive. However, you have heard some disturbing things about Lord Foster in the Shield District, and that he might perhaps be allied with the cult of Asmodeus. He has not shown up to the temple yet. You also find that some of the priests that were in charge of the different sectors of the city were revealed to be traitors, and some of them are missing. Hope Master Certainty, who came to threaten you at the Temple of Sindel, is gone. He's gone missing in the battle, and no one has been able to find his body. He was revealed to be a cultist of Asmodeus. Hope Master Broling, a dwarf priest of Bestera, is missing from the Coins District, and Hope Master Chalister de Lance is missing from the Shipping District. So the 2 portions of the government in the city of Horta are the Night Lords, and then the other half of the government, it's theocracy, is the Church of Bestera. And you find that things are pretty unstable, and there's a lot of work to be done. And Lachlan tells you that he is going to be called away, probably to help kind of get things organized, but that he imagines that he's going to have a task for you to begin with, while he's handling some administrative nightmare as they try to pull things together. There are safe spots throughout the city. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot to do. So that is where you find yourselves. And you are escorted to quarters, to a room, basically, where there are multiple people sleeping. There are clerics, there are other people, but you are allowed to get yourself some rest and get a full rest. And is there anything you'd like to do before that?
Duriel is famished, and so he wants to eat. He wants to feast as much as he can on the whatever provisions are available.
Okay.
And he'll invite, he's going to invite the other 2 to join him before before turning in.
I'd be happy to join.
Okay. So you all finish your meal and you're pretty exhausted, and you find yourselves fast asleep in no time, and you get yourselves an extended rest. You get all your hit points back, get all your dailies, your encounter powers, your healing surges all restored, and it's kind of a big deal. And you wake up, and you keep sleep. I mean, you probably would have kept sleeping for a while. And Duriel, you're not used to needing sleep in the same way, so you wake up for not the first time, but possibly, and you find that you're drooling all over yourself, and there's a little pile of drool under, on your pillow.
He's kind of like, he's so tired, and he's kind of like, oh, is this what Gizik feels like? Ugh.
And you also find that there are other bodily functions that have taken place that are making things rather complex. You wake up and you're absolutely starving, and you have to go to the bathroom, which is kind of like a new thing. You're
what Gizik feels like.
So it's kind of an adjustment having all of your bodily functions replaced now that you are no longer undead. So you find yourself with this just very frustrating assortment of physical needs that are pressing on you. And not only that, you don't feel rested enough. You feel like you should have kept sleeping when Lachlan comes to wake you up. And it's rather annoying. So in any case...
Actually, Anduriel's pretty ecstatic to be feeling all these things. He's actually really happy to have these feelings. It's been over a century since he's had these things, so he's like, it's weird. He's like, oh wow, I'm hungry.
Yeah, you're hungry now. By kind of natural instinct, you realize how hungry you are, and you start looking around at people's necks, and then you realize that doesn't sound good anymore. That's probably not going to satiate. So you get up the next day, have your meal, gather your things together. Lachlan tells you that unfortunately he is going to have to be about a number of administrative tasks. One of which is, it was discovered that there are some clerics of the Divine Fellowship that actually made it to Horta before the city was taken into Avernus. So some of the recruitment efforts of our clerics who were out there trying to find the clerics of the former coalition have borne fruit, and some of them arrived in Horta. There are about 25 clerics of the Divine Fellowship that Lachlan is going to have to organize, and he doesn't want to wait for us to be able to get that underway. So one of the things that he does is he sends you on a little task. He wants you to reconnoiter around the city and kind of have an idea of where things are, what's going on, see if there are any other stragglers, people trying to find their way to the temple or to another safe house. He just wants you to travel throughout the city and kind of get an idea of where things are, assist where you can. Not only does it make the Divine Fellowship look good, but it's probably in everyone's best interest at this point. So anyway, he sends the three of you out, and you begin wandering the city. And when you wander the city, Anduriel, you catch sight of your shadow behaving in a strange form. Again, it stands up again off of the floor as though it were standing in the middle of just the street, and it darts off and takes off down an alley.
Do Odelia and I see this?
Yes, you do.
Okay. The shadow. Generally when Naylock has something that he feels is important, he guides me with my shadow. If you wouldn't mind, I'm gonna follow. Come with me, please.
Right?
Okay. All right. So very suddenly there is a crackle of thunder from the gray cloud hanging overhead over the city, and the gentle rain of Moirus begins to fall down upon the city again. And as that gentle rain begins to fall down, it strikes you, and it is soothing. It leaves you feeling cleansed, but never really wet. It's that feeling you get when your body gets overheated, and there's you get a burst of cold mist in the summer, and it just falls on you. And as the rain, the thunder crackles and the rain begins to fall again, it just kind of leaves you all feeling refreshed in a way, and reminds you that the gods are still protecting Horta for the time being. So, in any case, Odelia, say anything when the rain falls down?
I just take a moment of silent prayer to be thankful to Moiris, and also I also do say it out loud though, because these are new people, and I just do want them to know that this is a gift from Moiris, but just very unobtrusively. At least I think so.
Okay.
And Duriel had already started walking after he said, "Will you please join me?" So he may not have heard all that.
That's
okay. All right. So Adelia's running after you, keeping up, going, "Wait, do you know where your blessings are coming from?" So you walk down the alley. Your shadow leads you on a merry chase, and you end up leaving the Bulwark district, and you head down the main street at one point, down more alleys, and you wind up in another district of the city. You're not quite sure where you are at this point. You could be close to the market, but you can see that the Sky Warden's tower is a little bit closer off in the distance to you than it was. And your shadow, Anduriel, leads you to a little alleyway where you see a number of brightly painted wagons, all kind of collected in a circle. And there's a campfire going in the middle of it. And you look out in the circle, and you see a number of people that you recognize as Vistani, some of the planewalkers.
Do either of you know? Do either of you know who this people is?
Do I? I don't think so.
You can make a let's see. It would probably be. I
think Flora knows, because he was with us when we went down into the tomb.
Yes, I was with you guys.
Yeah.
You can make a knowledge arcana check to see if you've heard of the Vistani.
All right. So I would only have heard of them. I've been pretty sheltered, which is reflected in this roll.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, it was a 2. There's no modifier on the world that's going to fix that.
Okay. All right. So you've heard of the Vistani. What you've heard of them is that they're butchers. You think they work in meat, probably cattle's, and fine cheeses. That's what they do. So, I mean, you think you've heard of the Vistani. You think that they're butchers and dairy workers. That's possible. Anduriel, your shadow slides under one of these colorful wagons.
Oh, for the love of shadow, Naylock, really?
And you lose sight of it.
That's this. I wish we could have probably gone somewhere else, but here we are. This could go one of two ways. The Vistani are quite mercurial. I believe maybe a good description of them.
Well, the last time I interacted with a Vistani, we almost died, so...
I may have cut off her head.
Are they violent? Is that why they're called butchers? I just thought they were like butchers.
They can be violent. They're more of gypsies and soothsayers and powerful enchanters. But
oh my!
Yes, the last time we encountered one, I cut off her head before she could speak. And I don't know if any of her kin are within this group here, but she deserved it. Yes.
Okay.
All right then.
All right.
Not judging at all. It's fine.
Are you heading into the camp?
So, that said, would you still like to accompany me as I follow my shadow?
Well, it sounds like you might need a wee bit of supervision, actually.
If not backup.
Sure, backup. We'll call it that.
Okay.
Whatever it is, I'd welcome the people at my back. So yes, let's carry on.
Okay. So you walk into the camp, and there are 3 Vistani, like kind of poking around the fire. And one of them you recognize as Rowena, who is the apprentice to the head of this task. This is the Vitraska task. And the Rani is the name of the position that guides the Vistani tasks. So the Vitraska task is guided by the Rani known as Madame Iovana. And Rowena, the girl that you recognize at the fire, is the violinist who also serves as her kind of apprentice. She will be the Rani when Madame Iovana dies, if and when that happens. So she catches sight of you and Duriel. You walk in, and she looks at you, and she goes, something has changed about you. You are the priest?
Yes. Hello. I'm Enduriel. You might remember me from when the voice of the Hallowed Council and you had sort of a fiddle off, as it were.
Ah, you don't bring your bard with you. I am surprised. Madame Iovana was expecting more of you.
The bard is otherwise engaged with organizing the recovery of this city, and we were all that could be spared at the moment, and I assure you we are quite enough.
He's stuck in a meeting in a hotel right now.
Okay. All right. She looks at you and she says, very well. I will let Madame Iovana know that you have arrived. And she walks up the steps of a very large and very beautifully decorated yellow and purple wagon. And she walks up the steps and she opens the door. And she closes the door, and she's gone for a few seconds. And there are 2 men who are still tending the fire and just kind of standing there talking. One of them is just kind of, whittling on something with a knife. And the other one is just poking, the embers of the fire, keeping it going. And they both look at you like with mistrustful stares.
And Duriel's going to kind of look behind him and say under his breath to the 2 of them, now, this may get a bit strange, but you may get the impression that these people think I'm a vampire.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll probably allow them to think that for the time being. All right?
Oh, all right. I'd like to know a bit more about that afterwards. Just as we're getting to know each other.
Yes.
Cordelia is very concerned at this point.
Thora knows. He can vouch for me. Thora, I'm not a vampire anymore. Did you know that?
I did notice that.
Okay.
It's nice that you're no longer. You're more human than you were.
Yes, quite. Very literally. Thank you. But yes, they may think that I'm a vampire, and I don't want to dissuade them of that opinion.
All right.
Up appearances. Okay.
Do we all need to go in with you, or should I stand guard out here?
Okay, as you say that, Odelia, the door to the Vardo, which is what they call their wagons, opens, and Rowena steps down from the wagon, and she says, Madame Iovana will see you now. Please enter.
And Ariel's just going to walk in.
Okay, so you have to climb up a few steps to do that, and if Thora and Odelia are kind of like waiting for Andariel, she goes, go on, Giorgio, which is what they call non-Vistani. She says, Madame Iovana would speak with all of you. Go on.
Oh, all right, then.
Okay.
Thora will gesture for Odelia to head in first. Like, kindly, gentlemanly.
Okay.
Thank you very much, friend.
Do you give her a wee boosty?
That is true. I probably need a little help to get up these steps.
The steps are a little, they're not halfling made. Let's put it that way. So
I use my harpoon to kind of like hoist myself up from step to step.
All right, so you're jumping
Killer
up the steps
arms.
on your harpoon. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, she does have a strength of 18. All right,
Pole
so
vaulting myself up.
the inside of the wagon is as colorful and brightly decorated as the outside of the wagon. It is large enough to support an ornate wooden table with runes and symbols carved into it, which oddly enough has already been set for tea, and there is a cup for each of you there. And on either side of the wagon's interior are shelves and cupboards with every kind of knickknack imaginable. There are old colored bottles, dried herbs hanging from a cord that's been, hung off of a hook in the ceiling. There's a stuffed owl, books in a strange language you don't recognize, iridescent crystals, sealed clay jars, and an iron bird cage with a porcelain bird sitting on a swing within. Um, so in any case, you walk in and Madame Giovanna, she looks like easily she passed her 7,000th birthday like just yesterday. As you look at her, she's looking pretty old to you, which is kind of strange, Anduriel, because the last time you saw her, she looked older, but not quite this old. She looks like something has just taken, a lot out of her. And and she's wearing a very, very beautiful colored skirt with red and blue and green hues just kind of woven all together in a beautiful pattern, and a very clean and pressed neat white shirt. And she has long flocks of what was salt and pepper hair with a lot more salt in it than pepper at this time. And she just has it kind of flowing all around her, full body of hair, still healthy, but just looking worn and tired and older than the last time you saw her. And she says, "Be welcome, travelers. Here in the circle of the Vatraska Vistani, Madame Giovanna bids you enter and be safe. You have seen much since last we spoke." And she looks at you and Duriel, and she says, "And you have changed much. Come, sit. We will have tea, and we will chat for a spell. Rowena, help your Rani and put the kettle on the fire." And Rowena heads, outside. She grabs a tea kettle from off of, one of the shelves, and she takes it outside to put the kettle on the fire. And she looks at you and Duriel, and she says, "You have been through much since last we spoke. But I asked something of you when you left our camp previously. Do you remember what it was?"
Madam, I can't say that I can. I apologize.
Okay, she says, "Our map. Did you find our map?" And you did find that map. You found that map on the body of that dead Vistana girl who was working with the cult of Asmodeus.
Anduriel's in his mind thinking if he wants to tell her about that, though. That's why he was kind of hesitating. Like, yes, we found the map, but do I want to tell her about it? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay. We've
Make
come
a bluff
across...
check, please.
Oh, that's a 1.
Okay. All right. She says, she looks at you, and Anduriel, you feel like her gaze is like penetrating your soul. She's in your head. You're like, "You crazy Vistani woman. Are you in my head? Do you know I killed her?" Like, it's all over your face.
Oh,
and,
yes. That map. Yes. We did come across it. Yes.
So she looks at you and she says, "I see. And do you bring it with you?"
I don't have it with me at the moment. No. I believe it's with the voice. It's with Lachlan.
All right. She looks at you and she says, "You do not. You do not carry it there in your satchel."
Oh, crap.
And she points down. Anduriel, you look down, and Lachlan's bag of holding is tied to your belt. And it was not there. You did not leave with that satchel tied to your belt.
Frank.
Oh, madam, yes. There is a chance that it's in this bag right here. Let me check. I will tell you, this wasn't on my belt when I left. I don't know what's going on, but hold on a moment. And he gets in there and he pulls it out, muttering that he's going to kill that kid.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so Thora, you've seen this. Odelia, you have not. The Vistani map it's more than just a simple map on an animal skin. As Anduriel draws the Vistani map out of the bag of holding that was not on his person when you guys left the Temple of Vestera, he takes it, and do you hand it to Madame Yovana? Are you like, okay? She lays the map out on the table and sighs with relief, with gratification. She looks like something that was part of her has been restored, like she gets a look on her face like she just found a lost child or something. And as she lays the map out to kind of inspect it, it looks like, laying it down, it is more of like a 3D diorama than it does look like a map. And not only that, but as you see like different land masses raised on this map, there's mist flowing between all of these different land masses that you look at. And Odelia, you take a look at it, and you think you might have even seen like a bird flying, like a tiny little bird flying around the top of the map. And the more you look at it, you blink, and it almost looks like the scene before you is alive. You feel like you could reach out and be there if you wanted to. And as you're kind of feeling yourself drawn forward, she then rolls it back up and closes it.
Oh, that's bad, because I'm right at eye level with it at the top of the table, just so I can see like right into the mountain ranges and everything. I let out a deep sigh of disappointment. Oh, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Okay. She says, "It is indeed a treasure of our task." And she rolls it up, and then she opens up a cupboard. She puts it into the cupboard and closes it and locks the key. And she says, "It should never have left this Vardo, never to begin with. Were it not for a betrayal, we would not have had to ask your assistance in returning it. But we are very grateful." And then she reaches over to another drawer and she pulls out a small bundle wrapped in silvery cloth. And she reverently takes that bundle and puts it back on the table that you're all sitting at. And Rowena comes in at that moment with the kettle, and she puts, a little bit of tea leaves in there, and she pours the hot water in and serves you all a piping hot cup of some kind of tea. And when she does that, she says, "The Vistani thank you for your service to our task." And she says, "And we would repay that gift with the gift that is always ours to give, information." And then she opens up that silvery cloth bundle and she reverently unwraps it and withdraws a set of ornately painted cards, and she sets them on the table. And she takes the deck and lays the cards down, and she pulls down 2 cards out of there, and Duriel, that you recognize. She pulls down the Angel Mother and the Golden Lady. The Angel Mother is the figure of an angel with wings that are, that are fully extended, and there are a bunch of, children down there, and she has her hand extended over the children as though, she were blessing them with some kind of golden light. And the Golden Lady is a woman of means, of great wealth, dressed in a golden gown with a golden parasol, with coins and things, manifesting her wealth. There's a horn of plenty and whatnot. And she looks at you and Ariel, and she says, "You have seen the Angel Mother, a Golden Lady. She sought your death, but somehow you avoided her. And you have managed to find a newness of life. She will hunt you again. And this time, the very breath you take betrays your presence. Tell me, was it a fair trade, Priest of Death?
One never knows in these sorts of scenarios. I unfortunately have made some bad deals in the past. This feels better. I have at least freedom of choice. I have my condition was chosen by me, not by someone else. So at the outset, yes, but time will tell.
Do you fear that she hunts you still?
I want her to hunt me. I want her to find me.
She looks at you and she says, you are well called to your chosen God, I believe. And she says, I wish you luck. And then she looks over to you two and she says, I am pleased to meet you. I can read for you, but know that no such art can be secret in Avernus. For the Duchess who rules here, the fallen one, she who I will not name, she can spy upon such arts of divination like a fly upon the wall, unseen but seeing. As your city has only just descended, she is undoubtedly most aware of it. Would you chance the cards?
Do we know who she's talking about?
She's looking at you, Odelia and Thora.
But do we know like who the Duchess is that she's talking about? Who the
You can make a knowledge religion check to see if you know what Duchess she's speaking of.
That is a 16.
Okay. Total or 16 on the die?
16 total.
That's 16 total. Okay. With a 16 total, you know that the 9 layers of hell each have a ruler, and that those rulers are called either dukes or duchesses. So most likely she is referring to whatever duke or duchess rules this layer of hell. Anyway, what about you, Anduriel and Thora? Did you guys make knowledge religion checks?
No,
No.
I did not.
Thora
Goodness.
is thinking about this choice that was offered to him.
So that's a 16.
Okay. So, Anduriel, you know the same thing that Odelia
Same.
knows, that every layer of hell has a duke or a duchess. So she says that it's a duchess. Thora, did you make it?
No, he's thinking about the choice that she's offering. He's too busy in his own head.
In his own head. Okay. All right. So Odelia and Thora, she just asked if you wanted her to read for you, knowing that the divination could be spied upon.
We don't have Lachlan's not here, so we can't speak in the mind, huh? Dang
Nope.
it. All right.
Thora is going to say, the future is the future. Divination makes no difference. I don't believe I need it.
Very well. Sometimes to not know is a blessing too, eh?
Precisely.
And she looks at you, Odelia, and she says, and you?
I would like to know.
Okay. She nods at you and pulls the cards together and puts them back in a deck, and she hands the deck to you. And she instructs you to shuffle them until it feels right.
Okay, I shuffle and shuffle, and then I get really nervous, and so I just keep shuffling for like
Okay.
a ridiculous amount of time, and finally I just my hands are shaking and I just stop and put it down.
Okay, so halfway through your shuffling of frantic process, you do get to a point where you shuffle through the cards, and it's almost like the cards are telling you, that's enough, put me down. You can keep going if you want, or you can live.
That's fine. I'll put them down.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Odelia will always take any chance that she can to find knowledge for the thing that she's looking for.
Okay.
So she will take risks for that.
Okay, Odelia, she takes the cards and she draws 2 of the cards off of the deck. And she does it so quickly and with such a practiced hand, you're not even sure where from the deck she drew the cards. And she lays 2 cards down in front of you. One of them is the picture of a woman who is glowing with some kind of holy light around her. She's wearing a big poofy white robe, and there are tons of children at her feet. And she is handing them bread and reaching out. Her hand is comforting on the other shoulder. And she says, "The Sainted Mother is a very good card. This represents who you are and what you see as your mission." And then she flips over the other card, and on this card is a picture of it's a moon overhead that has gone almost completely dark. It's just a new moon, there's just a sliver of moon left. And then that moon is casting a shadow down upon a woman who is weeping and dressed all in black. And she's sitting on her knees and weeping down, and her head is turned sideways as though she were ashamed somehow. And she says, "The fallen woman." And then she nods. "The fallen woman represents what will cross your path." And she looks at Anduriel and she says, "As the angel mother has crossed the path of the priest of death, so will you be crossed by the path of a fallen woman. It may be only through your instincts as a mother and as a woman that you will be able to raise her up from where she is fallen."
All right.
And she says, "Be careful with every word that you speak to this woman when you see her. You will have the chance to influence her more than once, I believe." And that is where she leaves it. And it looks like we have just lost JT. Oh,
Nope,
JT
he's
looks
back.
like he's back. Okay,
Sorry.
that's great. All right. And now you're frozen. And I don't mean like Elsa, like
My gremlins got me.
Not the
beautiful, yeah.
gremlins.
Oh no. There. Oh, he is still fuzzy. Go figure. Okay. Well, he's moving kind of slow. Well, hopefully his internet will just pick right back up, and that will resolve there. So she takes the cards and she wraps them up and she puts them back in there and opens a drawer and puts them back in there. And she says, "And now I have another gift for you. One that I believe will guide you in your path that you have chosen." And she reaches down and she takes that bird cage that she had previously and that you had seen previously on the side of her Vardo. And she takes the cage and she puts this bird cage in the center of the table. And you get a really good look at this little porcelain bird that is contained within. And the bird, for a minute there, you look at it, and it looks almost as though it were alive. It's so vibrant, I guess, and almost like that same experience you had with the map when you were looking at it and suddenly you felt like it was real. But it catches your eyes, and you look at it, and she says, "I have kept this creature hidden since we came upon it, wounded on the slopes of hell many months ago." And she says, "Behold, the animal companion of the Archduchess herself. It is a baby phoenix, recently reborn from the ashes. My sight tells me that it holds the secret to undoing the orb of death which holds your city prisoner, and also which holds the city on the horizon prisoner as well. And then she looks at it and she whispers and she says, he sleeps, but he will not awaken all at once. Within him lies the secret to destroying that dark sun that shines like a curse over your city. I can only awaken him so far, but there is one who is not far from here that can help begin this awakening. I have divined that she is a warlord of Avernus and very dangerous. I can sense that she is somehow connected to the Duchess that rules over this domain, but I do not know how. And then she says, if you are ready to take up this task, I will awaken you. And she looks at the rest of you and waits.
Well, what do you think? I think this is exactly what we need to know.
Yes, of course, yes. Yeah, we're ready. This is what we're here for. We're here to save the city. We're here to destroy this evil. Yes, let's do this.
Okay. All right, so she looks at you and she opens up the cage and she whispers some kind of a word and blows on this porcelain bird. And she just ever so gently releases air slowly over it. And as she breathes over it in a continuous, like drawn out breath, slowly but surely, it begins to move and it begins to take on more lifelike features. And then all of a sudden, it catches fire and it begins to move more rapidly. And it starts flapping its wings like crazy, and it takes on a very different shape. When you first looked at it, this little porcelain bird looked as though it were kind of like a cockatoo almost. But as it comes alive, its wings and its plumage take on a blazing blue and red and orange texture to it, like three stripes that move across it, almost like the sorceress from Castle Grayskull, a little bit like that, the plumage and stripes. But they are blue and orange and it's very and vibrant colors, almost like the color of living flame. And it starts screeching and flapping around crazy and moving around the cage. And Madame Iovana steps back like a full step away from it and folds her hands in her lap. It clasps its talons, small as though they might be, on the side of the cage, and the side of the cage that it's holding onto melts, opening up a little hole, and it flies out and it's flapping all over the place, just freaking out.
I think at this point, Thora is going to step up regardless of the damage he could take. And he's just going to start speaking with it. He's just going to be like, calm. You're free now. It's okay. Please, here, come to me. And he'll pull out like a strip of like a bread or some kind of ration like that. Mm-hmm. And he'll be like, please come. Let's talk about what's going on. Tell me how you feel. Like he's essentially doing a therapist thing.
Okay. You want to make a knowledge nature check and see if you can animal handle here?
Yeah, my nature's really good.
It should be. You are a druid.
Ooh,
30.
Ooh, very nice. All right.
18, like natural one of our group.
Yeah, natural 18 plus 12.
Okay.
Crikey, you're a beauty.
This thing is just, I mean, this poor little bird is just flying all over the place. And Thora, you realize that Madame Iovana is correct. This is a baby phoenix, recently reborn from the ashes. Mm-hmm. And it is, flying all over the place. And it's like trying not to, but it catches fire to a couple things, not badly, just like little flame, like hanging to the thing. And Madame Yovana goes over and she takes her voluminous skirt, picks it up and just smothers it all in the several plate, wherever it goes. And you reach out and you speak nurturing, kind words to this thing. You mimic noises that it would recognize. And Odelia and Duriel, you've not really watched Thora do this a ton before. He's like perfectly mimicking bird noises, like here, like and making. Thora picks up his arms. He's making flapping motions, and you're like, whoa. And it calms down and it comes over and lands on Thora's shoulder. And it just looks at him for a minute and goes, like, starts pecking at things on your robe.
Okay. With a 30, do I know what they eat?
Phoenixes?
Yeah.
A fully fledged phoenix is a bit of a carnivore, but they're capable as a celestial. If it was fully grown and it was on the celestial planes, it could eat a wide variety of things to nourish itself. It could eat plants, it could eat animals. But at this stage of the game, in Avernus, it's probably going to derive nourishment from bugs, worms. I mean, basic things that a bird might eat.
Beetles.
I've got plenty of those.
Don't let it eat you.
Yeah. So there are probably bugs already all over you. I hope you didn't name any of them because
he's one of those weirdos who like sleeps outside and just like lives in nature. So like
he's like the bug Radagast.
He probably literally is like, hold on.
Okay.
Pulls out like a centipede and just gives it to it.
All right, so this thing, it gobbles up, like it's never eaten before, like baby bird, like, like whatever. It's obviously a wee babe, but it's not like without plumage or anything like that. It's a baby, but it's clearly capable of flying to some extent. And it looks up to you and it goes, "Rat! Druid thinks bugs are people. Druid thinks bugs are people. Creepy and dirty, creepy and dirty." And then it flies over to Odelia and it lands on her shoulder.
I'm holding like anything that if there was a pitcher of water or anything in this Vardo, I had gone and grabbed it while it was on fire because water is definitely my go-to. And so I'm just standing there holding it and I'm super freaked out by this.
The only water that you see nearby is the tea and the teapot.
Yeah, I'm holding the teapot and I'm just like, get it off me. Get it off me, Thora, please take it back. Please just get it off me, please. I don't like it, please.
He will walk over.
Okay.
And be like, she's clearly uncomfortable. Here, come back here. Or would you like to meet Anduriel?
Okay,
and
so
he's talking to it like it's a person.
It hops away from you onto Odelia's head and then down to her other shoulder. And Odelia, it sniffs at you almost a little bit, and it goes, "Rat, halfling soaks her friends. Too much water. Rat."
Hey, that's rude.
And then it flaps around and lands on top of the cage it was in, and goes, "Rat, pretty boy wants silk pajamas. Where's the pretty boy? Rat." Goes around. And then it comes over to Anduriel and it lands on his shoulder, and Anduriel, it sniffs for you for a minute, and it sniffs at you, and it pecks at like a spare thread of you, and it goes, "Rat, angel blood and mommy issues, needs a girlfriend. Rat."
Get off, bird.
Okay. The bird kind of ignores you, Anduriel, and it does the same thing that it did to Odelia. It climbs up on top of your head, and then it hops down to your other shoulder, and then Anduriel, it sniffs you again, and it seems, Thora, I would like you to make a knowledge nature check to see if you can interpret what it's doing right now, because I'm sure Odelia and Anduriel just think it's a freaking bird.
I'm good at these. That one's only a 20.
Not more than enough for you to interpret its behavior. It seems to be calming down next to Anduriel for some reason, And then it moves next to Anduriel, and it kind of leans its body on the side of its head and nuzzles his cheek a little bit affectionately.
Do I know that phoenixes are celestial?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't find phoenixes on the prime material planes. You find them on Mount Celestia, possibly in one of the celestial or astral realms of a god. They don't hang around unless they're usually summoned to the prime material plane. It's not shocking to find one in Avernus, but if it was here, you might expect it to be doing battle.
Mm-hmm.
They are definitely with that high of a check, they are profoundly chaotic good creatures.
Gotcha. And I think knowing that, he's going to say, the phoenix seems attracted to you, as he said, because of your celestial blood. That's my guess, at least.
Okay, and it just goes, angel blood, angel blood.
So the bird flies around insulting people and calms down on my shoulder.
Seems like it fits you to me.
I can't wait for it to meet Aelin.
Okay, Anduriel.
Not jokes while I'm drinking.
Sorry.
All right, Anduriel, you say I can't wait for it to meet Aelin, and it hops to the side of your shoulder, looks around a little bit, and goes, "Rat, tiefling blood. Mommy hates her. She needs love. She needs love."
The phoenix can stay.
Know all this.
Okay, Madame Iovana says the phoenix can be a highly telepathic creature. It is very possible it is picking up latent psychic impressions left upon all of you.
Oh my.
So can
this
you
is
tell us how
Lachlan's fault.
this bird can help us defeat the evil? I mean, it's just a bird.
Okay. She comes over and looks at the bird, and she says, this bird, this baby phoenix, was once the animal companion of the Duchess of this layer of hell. She was not always as she is now, a creature twisted and fallen, corrupted by evil. This creature once dwelt in her presence, and if the dark suns that hang over your cities were crafted by the Duchess, it is entirely possible that this creature was there at the crafting, or that this creature knows more of the Duchess. And she says, I cannot tell you how I know this, but I know that it holds the secret to the undoing of these evil artifacts.
And Duriel, you saw it melt through the cage like it was nothing. Do you think it could do something similar with the chains?
Perhaps. I suppose there's only one way to find out.
She says, it certainly does not possess such power in this form. The only way that you can awaken its memories would be to get help from one who is far more of a specialist in such matters than I am. This warlord that I spoke to you of, she is gifted in the arts of oneromancy, dream magic. It may be that she can use these arts to awaken the memories in this baby phoenix.
Do you know where we can
find her?
Find this person, yeah.
She maintains a stronghold to the south of here, or to what would have been the south of here when still this city dwelt upon land, along the river Styx, which flows through all planes of existence. If you are to travel due south of here, you will run directly into it if you follow the river.
This warlord, what is her name?
Her name is Mad Maggie. She is a night hag.
Ugh,
Okay.
I don't like that.
Is there like a second option for waking the bird's memories? Like maybe something else?
There is the possibility of awakening its memories as it engages in good acts and fights evil. But this process will take many years.
Well, we don't have that.
Your city does not have many years. My people, we are leaving. We cannot remain.
How are you leaving?
We will travel the mists as we always do.
Oh, right.
So you didn't come here with Horta then? You were already here.
She just smiles at you.
Oh, all right then.
Well, short one, that's about as much as you can expect from the Stanny, unfortunately. Thank you, madam, very much. You have been most helpful, and we are happy to have been in your presence once more.
Okay, and Duriel, you say that, and she looks at you, and she smirks at you, and she comes up to you. She pets the phoenix a little bit. She strokes, just its mane, basically, or the the
pin
plumage.
feathers.
It's pin feathers, and she looks at you, Duriel, and she pats your cheek, and she goes, "Cheeky."
Always a pleasure, madam.
Okay, so you step outside of the Vardo, and Rowena is just kind of waiting there. And Rowena is waiting there, and standing next to her is that captain of the Sky Wardens. And down the street in the alley, filling up most of the alley, is her griffin mount. And she's standing there just kind of chatting with Rowena. And I mean, she's just, the Sky Wardens are, they're a bit ruckus. They're a bit rough around the edges. And she's in the middle of telling Rowena some joke, and she's like, well, then I grabbed him by the, and like everyone's like, oh. And Rowena has this look on her face. You know that look that somebody has when they're like, oh my gosh, get me out of this uncomfortable social situation. That's all over Rowena's face. And Captain Karen doesn't seem to, she doesn't even seem to be aware of it. She's just standing there, in her leather armor, looking like she's just having, enjoying her time. Doesn't really seem to be too rattled by the events that are going on here. And Rowena looks at you like, oh, but see, your friends are come. Well, come. And then she waves you over like desperately. You will no doubt wish to be on your way. And then she runs away from Captain Karen.
Excuse me, wait.
No, I've got something to sort of, blah, 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 and then she rattles something off in her language.
I was going to ask about the tea.
She comes back with 3 little bundles for each of you. And she says, food and provisions for your journey for at least a week's time.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay. And Duriel,
so
Anduriel, she comes up to you and she winks at you and she says, maybe I see you again when all this is over, eh?
And Duriel actually blushes because he can blush now.
I've never seen you turn that color.
Do you say that out loud?
Yeah.
All right. You do that, and Captain Karen looks at him and she's like, ha!
What color? What do you... It's the
Look
reflection
at his
of the
cheeks,
sun.
they're bright red. Does he know?
No, the sun is different in hell. It's all weird. No. What do you want? What are you doing here, Captain?
Okay.
Are you swelling? Is that inflammation?
She looks at you and she says, your voice sent me, handsome. He thought that you might need some assistance in getting around Avernus. And she says, I'm supposed to escort you to wherever it is you might be beginning your journey.
Well, it just so happens we have a destination, don't we?
That's great.
We need to go find Mad Maggie. Do you know who that is?
I have no idea who that is.
Do you know where the River Styx is?
Yeah. She points on the horizon, and you can see the River Styx floating on the horizon. It actually floats in midair. It looks like a river of just this, dirty gray water. It does not look clean to drink, Odelia. I would like you all to, if you would please, make a knowledge religion check or a knowledge nature check to see what you know about the Styx. Nature!
That's a 25 for nature.
Okay.
23 knowledge.
Oh, where's my paper?
You have a +3 to your religion roll.
Oh, I found it.
Or sorry, not
See if I
knowledge.
could do any
religion,
better with
religion.
nature, but I do have a +6, so I've got an 8.
Okay. So here is what you know. The River Styx, Odelia and Anduriel, is just a river that flows through all planes of existence. It is the means by which demons invade the 9 hells to battle with devils in an unending war that is known as the Blood War. But Thora, you know a little bit more than that because you were a good boy in Druid school. And
I was a good boy.
Yeah. And the priests of Finhifara educated you about all kinds of nature across the plains, which is one of the reasons why you know about phoenixes. You know that the River Styx is deadly because if you are touched by even a drop of the water from the river, it can steal your memories.
Oh.
There are crafts that will traverse the Styx without any trouble, but it's always a dangerous journey because to be struck by the Styx is to lose your memory. And sometimes it has other effects too. You also know that sometimes creatures are reborn. When they're reborn in the hells, sometimes they crawl out of the River Styx, almost as though it were some kind of a planar womb of something.
Gross.
So it's not a great river. Most people don't like it, but it does touch all areas of the plains.
The River Styx is ill.
Yeah.
So gross.
But
ill.
you would not want to wash your hands in the River Styx.
No.
You would not want to wash your underwear. You wouldn't want to wash anything in the River Styx. It's just altogether a bad idea. So in any case, Madame Iovana did tell you that Mad Maggie's fortress or her, area, wherever it might be, is just to the south of Horta down the River Styx. So if you follow the river, she told you you'll run right into it.
Gotcha.
Well, Captain, if you don't mind a bit of an adventure, we need to travel south along the River Styx until we get to Mad Maggie's abode.
Okay. She says, it sounds good to me, handsome. And then she looks up at Rowena and she laughs. She's like, ha!
It's a trick of the light, you guys.
Okay.
I don't think so. Your cheeks are about the color of my hair.
No, it's a sunburn, little one.
Okay.
Well, the mixture with the atmosphere here makes you almost look orange.
All right, let's go.
Okay. So she heads down the alleyway and she comes up on the griffin and she jumps into the saddle and she says, it's not really meant for riding 3 at a time, but it'll suffice to be able to get us all to the Sky Warden's tower. We'll be able to get another mount from there.
Oh, all right.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. She goes, up we go. Come on.
And Thora will hop on.
All right. Odelia, she suggests that you sit in front of her because it would just be easier. And she squunches back on the saddle, puts you in front of her. And Thora, she tells you and Anduriel that you're going to have to hold on tight. And Anduriel, she pulls you up. She's like, hold on tight, handsome. And she grabs your arms and wraps them around her.
She wants some of that Anduriel.
Actually, you don't really necessarily get that impression.
No.
You get the impression she's just having a great
She's
time,
just
like
trolling
teasing
him.
Yeah.
This is usually the sort of thing Lachlan goes in for. I don't know what's going on.
Rowena wanted a piece. That wasn't hard to read at all, but she's just kind of like enjoying tormenting him.
Even Thora saw that, and he's about as dense as a brick.
Okay. So you launch into the sky and you realize, oh my gosh, she wasn't kidding. She launches into the sky. The griffin is like, oh, like whatever. And Duriel, the little phoenix stays on your shoulder, and then as you take off, the wind and the air whips up, and it shoves its head like down your shirt. And then it starts moving around and crawling, and then it crawls into your shirt and pokes its head out.
Jeez Louise.
And it's really the most disturbing, creepy feeling having all these birdie legs.
It's like, please don't start on fire. Please don't start on fire.
And it is warm also to the touch. It's not burning you, but it's definitely warm to the touch. So what are your reactions as you take to the skies on the back of this thing?
In Thora's head, he's going, this is one of the coolest moments of my life. Look at this giant bird lion thing. I love it. I want one, but I have to pretend that I'm stoic.
Okay. All right. How's Odelia reacting to this?
I am having fun, but I'm also holding on super tight and just like, because it's not as bad as the dragon that I just rode.
Yeah,
So
no,
I can handle it.
No, and it's not trying to knock you off either.
Mhm.
However, it is very disconcerting when you go vertical as this thing tries to gain altitude and flies up to the Sky Warden, and it's a bit much, but it does manage to fly all of you up to the top of the Sky Warden's tower. So you get up to the top of the tower and you reach an area. It's really quite interesting because the top of the tower has a landing, which is awfully strange, and it has kind of an area that looks a bit like a stable. And it flies you. The griffin flies you up there, and you are realizing that you're on the edge of this tower on this landing, and Captain Karen just kind of, she just kind of leaps off and steps on it, and she's not like 2 feet from falling to her death, and it doesn't seem to faze her at all. One way she's like, whatever, and the rest of you are probably kind of nervous getting down like 2 inches from falling, hundreds of feet to your death. And she kind of just leaves the griffin there. And you see other Sky Wardens are very similar standing around. There are about 3 of them on guard. There's a human woman and 2 half-elven men. And they're just kind of standing around. One of them actually has his leg hanging over the side of the landing, just looking down like, no height, whatever, whatever. And the captain lands and they go, hey, look up there. And one of them calls out, one of the half-elven men calls, he's like, hey, Captain Karen, did you bring back somebody, bring back your boyfriend? You like men in robes now, huh? And she looks back to him and makes some vulgar comment about his father not being able to last very long, and so she's not whatever. And the other guy elbows it. I mean, it's just really raunchy body between all of them, and and she doesn't seem phased one way or the other by it, and you just kind of get the sense that they're really rough around the edges. And interesting that they call themselves knights, and yet they are knighted. So you get the idea. So she goes into the stable that is kind of at the edge of here, and she pulls out a Pegasus, basically, and she leads this Pegasus out by the reins. This enormous, large creature will sport 2 of you on there, Pegasus, and it has a beautiful blue leather bridle around it, and a very ornate saddle. Looks like it's extremely secure. Places for you, there's a strap to belt yourself in, and there's also straps to put your feet in. So I mean, there's no way you're getting knocked off with one blow, basically. And she says, all right, well, I mean, we can't stay with you forever. Our duty is to the city, but we can certainly start you off on your journey. So you know where you're going?
We're going south.
About a day's travel is what we heard.
Okay.
We ought to be faster on these mounts.
It's true. It may be less.
Okay. All right. She says, well, all right. Which one of you is going take the reins?
Well, I'm quite capable of handling animals, but Pegasi, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is John talking again.
Sure.
Are Pegasi celestial?
It depends.
Okay.
Yes, they're more celestial than prime material, but in areas of the world of Eenia, where you come from, there are Pegasi in Fey lands and Elven lands that are not celestial creatures.
Okay.
You also know that the city of Valoria had an archmage who engineered Pegasi. He was a transmuter, and he did some gene splicing kind of thing, some magical experiments, and he actually created an offshoot that were only capable of gliding. But in any case,
like flying squirrels.
a bit like that. So anyway, so do you mount up, Thora?
I think Thora will mount up on the Pegasus.
Okay.
Can I go with you then?
I'd be happy to have you join, and he will help her up onto the Pegasus.
Okay. Alrighty. And Ariel, she looks at you, she goes, all right, I guess that means you're with me, pretty boy. And
so it would seem.
Please don't kill her, Anduriel.
Give a little high five to Thora.
Yeah. And Anduriel, she looks at you and she's like, do you want to do anything to secure your hair before? I mean, I don't want you to get windblown or anything.
Can we just leave, please?
She goes, ha ha ha. She elbows you in the ribs, sitting behind her. Okay.
This is Lachlan's job. So is Lachlan's job.
So you end up taking off, and from the Sky Warden's tower, you are able to see quite a dramatic landscape stretching out before you. To begin, very, very, very close, on the horizon, but close enough for you to make out details. You can see the city of Elturel, looking, even from this distance, looking in bad shape. And you can see the enormous black chains that are driven into both the ground and also into the land base that it sits upon. And the chains are pulled taut too. There's no slack. And you can, you just how you can sometimes see a cloud moving, even though it's moving really slowly. You feel like there's some kind of movement, like the chains are pulling it down somewhat. And it's quite a disturbing sight, to say the least. Also, there's a horrible ash cloud that just covers the entire sky. There's no sun in Avernus. There's no moon in Avernus. So you can't really see any kind of celestial object that's creating light. And yet, nevertheless, there is red light, as though this place were lit by, hundreds of volcanoes. You do see some volcanic activity. You see ruins in the distance. You can very easily make out the river Styx winding its way around. Horta is not on the river Styx. It was pulled down, but it's close. So she takes off, and her griffin, rides up into the sky, and you leave for the first time since the city was dragged into Avernus. You leave the confines of the city itself. And it is a very disturbing feeling as you find yourselves leaving the boundaries of the city that the gods have blessed. There is an instant weight that falls upon you as you find yourselves being, exiting the city. You leave the gentle reign of Moiris. You leave Bestera's protective shield. You leave the blessing of Sindel's blessing of courage and love and warmth, and you're just immediately afflicted by the oppression all around you. And you remember somebody said at some point the words that are written across the gates to hell: abandon hope, all ye who enter here. And you realize that those words are not only accurate, but you can feel them as hell presses in on you. So I would like each one of you, if you would please, to make an endurance check. As the weight settles upon you, let's see how you handle it.
What is an endurance check?
Endurance is a skill. It's constitution based. So if you don't have training in it, it's half your level and your constitution modifier, unless you're trained.
I am trained for some reason.
Woohoo!
21.
Very nice.
22.
22?
20 for me.
Very nice. Okay. So all of you begin to feel this hopeless feeling, just settle upon you as you realize it's easy to get into hell, but getting out is an entirely different prospect. And that hopelessness begins to settle on you, and you all manage to shake it off. Can you tell me how your characters shake that off individually?
Odelia starts to sing a little song just under her breath. If anyone could hear the words, it sounds very much like a children's song, like just a sweet little lullaby. And it's definitely, if you're listening, it's definitely about a gentle rain making everything clean and bright again.
Okay.
I think Thora is literally listing off species names.
Very cool. Like
literally like the Latin species names. He's just listing names to try and remind himself of the fact that the wild mother may not be present here, but she's present in all of these. And even if I don't see them, they exist.
Okay. Very nice.
And Duriel is having a hard time. He's not overly fond of heights. And then that oppressive feeling comes. And so he starts to pray to Naylock. Naylock, what am I doing here? Can I do this? I don't know if I can do this. This is insane. What's going on? And he sees his shadow hand move over his chest, and so he moves his hand with it, and his hand rests on the bird, and he kind of gets that warm feeling, and it helps dissipate the oppression.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So by the power of all of your faiths and by your plucky determinism and optimism, you all managed to avoid any negative effects today from the oppressive force of hell weighing in upon you. And you get the intense, you get the feeling that your gods are still with you, even though you can't feel them as strongly as you did when you were in the protected city. You also come to this realization that that oppressive force that is weighing in on you now is weighing in on Elturel, which has been here for who knows how long, and is also weighing in on Horta. And you get an idea or a sense of why those four demigods who are holding it at bay, why they won't be able to do it for much longer, because they may be divine beings, but an entire plane of existence is weighing in on their power. So as you move along, now you go moving along through the skies, and Duriel, while you're moving along, she keeps trying to get you to let go and just hold on with your legs. And the no hands challenge, she's trying to get you to just come on. And she elbows you a couple times. She's like, just try one hand. Just do one.
I used to be a vampire.
Ooh, are you going to bite me?
I'm seriously considering it.
Okay. Okay. And Duriel, the little baby phoenix that is crushed into your shirt, it makes some squawking sounds as she backs up. Every time she backs up and elbows you, she squishes it into your chest a little, and it's okay. Anyway, and it looks up at you, and it turns its head 360 owl, and it looks up at you its beak is pointed at your chin. It goes, foul and uncouth. When do we get rid of her?
I'm quite a quick study on flying these things. I don't know if we need you anymore.
Okay. So she says to you, well, that's good, because when we land, I have to go back to the city, and the mounts are coming with me. You're on your own once you get to the bottom, pretty boy.
All right.
She is quite vulgar, isn't she?
Leave the biggest tasks to the bravest of the bunch. I see.
All right. She says, well, I noticed she's leaning back, just kind of like you're not even catching every word she's saying. She bellows something back at you, like she's like, "Hey, no, Legion's attacking the city. You're all leaving." Like, okay.
And Uriel's kind of getting into it in more of a good-natured way now. He's like, it's more banter to him now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
Anyways.
So she leads you down the River Styx, and she, in the midst of this, she yells down. She's like, "Well, is that what you're looking for?" And you look down and you see there's some kind of a structure that you're coming up on that looks to be, well, I guess you would say it looks kind of like Mad Max Thunderdome, like some kind of a fortress, but it is so ramshackle that it looks like whatever metal could have been scrounged or scrapped together has been found in order to build a wall around this place. And it's just shields on top of, wagon wheels, on top of, scythes, a bunch of tools. It's just absolutely everything. Big, sheet silos. There's all kinds of metal and things like chariots even, and they look like they've just been hammered together into a wall, like somebody just melted it just enough to where it will make a nice big tall wall. And you also catch sight of a number of looking machine objects on the set up around the tops of these ramshackle walls. And one of them, it looks like a long tube, like a telescope or something. And you're looking at it and you're not sure if you've ever seen anything like this before. And these telescope length of metal objects, they start turning and pointing towards you in the sky.
Oh no, that can't be good.
Well, let's see here.
Bringing down. Going down.
Obviously dangerous, grotesquely ominous. Yes, that must be the place we're looking for.
Okay. Where are you going to try to land?
Does it look like there's an opening, like a gate?
There is definitely a gate. The gate looks like it's obviously two doors, but it's just as much of a mess. But you can see an indentation where there's like a passageway, and the gate is a little thinner than the wall.
It's probably best to drop us at the front door. I'd hate for a person named Mad Maggie to think we're trying to break into her home.
What?
It's probably best if we go to the front door.
Let's just follow him down.
Okay. Thora, you are trying to guide this animal, but the more you try to guide it, the more you realize you're not really having any, you're steering and it's kind of ignoring you. It seems to be following a flight pattern that is just following the griffin, almost as though it were trained to do so.
Gotcha.
Which is why you didn't have to make an knowledge nature check. So they're like, here, it's like when you tell the little kid they're driving and they're not really driving. And they're like,
the
here,
plastic steering wheel.
Yeah, that's on the passenger side of the car. Turn the wheel. So you can guide it a little bit, but mostly it's just lockstep flying behind this griffin.
Gotcha.
All right. So how close do you want to get to the gate?
100 paces?
As close as we can.
100 feet away? Okay. So you go moving around, and Thora, she leans back to you, and she takes her arm and goes like this, and just indicates, going down in case you're going to try to fight the Pegasi that's following the griffin. And you land about 100 feet away, and as you are landing, one of these telescopic looking things aims towards the griffin, and it fires a blast of something out towards the griffin. And unfortunately, the griffin takes about 13 points of fire and untyped damage. So there is a blast of metal shards and flame. it looks like a fireball, but like it's like a messy, dirty fireball that a technomancer, would make. There's shrapnel in it and ballista. I mean, it's just a mess, but it's all this flaming mess, and it hits the griffin, and it would hit the griffin, but Captain Karen is a Sky Warden, and so she's going to use her immediate interrupt action, aerial evasion. And so this thing fires off, and she launches into a barrel roll and goes turning sideways. And Duriel, please make if you would please, an athletics check to stay in your saddle. You only need a 10.
And a con check to save your lunch.
It's athletics and not acrobatics.
You can use either one.
I'm going to use acrobatics.
You only need a 10.
My bonus is a 12.
That's unless it's a 1.
So that is a 29.
All right, so she goes into a barrel roll, Enduriel, and your inner Enduriel is like, ah! But then you realize, okay, this is just like tucking into a flip, and you've done plenty of those. And so you tuck in and just kind of center yourself, and the griffin rights itself and lands. And you see a number of little creatures 100 paces away from where you are at the gate, and they're dancing up and down and laughing raucously, like, ah! And Duriel, make a perception check, please. Thora, you may make one as well.
Crap.
Ooh. Dirty 20.
23.
All right. You two, who have engaged these creatures in battle for, recognize dozens of red caps. And Duriel, you really recognize the red caps because you were one briefly.
Not these guys.
And they're dancing on top of there and laughing hysterically at the fact that they launched this blast cannon at you.
Rude.
They're giggling and dancing, but they don't seem to be firing anymore.
Huh.
Was that a shot just for fun?
Who
It
knows?
certainly looks like that.
These things have lost half their mind, and the other half is, well, useless.
Drunk on
anyways.
blood.
Yes, well, perhaps. I wonder if there's a way for me to contact. So I'm going to see if you can pray to a deity. How do you get a hold of an archfey?
You actually, it's funny you should mention that. When you became a warlock, a lot of knowledge instantly filled your head. Spells, words, incantations, things that you have no way of knowing when you accepted the Piper's Pact filled your head. And as you ask yourself, how do you contact an archfey? It pops into your head. To contact the Piper, you need to build a little altar and make an offering to him. And that offering, you know very well what that offering would have to entail. Sheet music, maybe of a song that he's not heard before. Tears also. A vial of tears, things of that nature. The Piper has dominion over water. He has dominion over destruction and a number of other things like that.
Well, I don't know that I have. Well, I have a vial of tears. I don't know if I have any music.
But you also don't have an altar that you would have to etch runes into in
Right.
order to contact him. So you could do that. You can certainly reach out and try to contact him, but it's going to take a little bit of preparation.
Instead, Anduriel's just going to shout as loud as he can towards the creatures on the wall. Red caps! This is Anduriel, warlock of the Piper. Stand down!
Okay. You scream Warlock of the Piper, and they stop dancing for a minute. And they look out at you, and their heads are just kind of bobbing a little bit around. And one of them yells out, "Approach the gates!"
Well, that certainly did something.
Be on your guard. As I said, these creatures, they're not all there. I was almost one myself. Have I told you that story?
You haven't. Maybe not the best time, but I would love to hear this.
I'd
It's
like
a really
to hear
good
that
one.
later too.
Poor Odelia, all she's saying, I was a vampire. I was a red cap. I cut off a Vistani girl's head. Like,
I'm very curious to figure out what this guy's doing here.
he doesn't.
has had a storied past.
Well, he's also much older than, well, not necessarily Thora. How old is Thora?
I think
half
we
elf.
discussed that he was like 150.
Yeah, Thora is
Right.
actually a little bit older than Anduriel
he
is.
Yeah.
But maybe has spent his time differently, not eating people. And anyway, but moving on.
I just drank their blood. I didn't eat the people. Just drank their blood.
But did you? Anyway, so
I did not ingest people. Okay, sorry.
Secrets in the sauce.
I did not.
I love that movie. Anyway, moving on.
I did not ingest those people.
I did not ingest human
Oh my
flesh or flesh of
If
any
the-
kind.
If the Aussies are watching this right now, I'm wondering if they know about that President Clinton quote. But anyway, we're gonna move on. So we'll have to explain that later. Point Gift, we love you. Thanks for watching. Moving on here. So you land there, and the red caps are just kind of they're peeking out over this, jagged looking wall that or barrier that serves as a wall on top of the battlements or battlement, loosely constructed. And as you approach the gate, they're like, "You're a warlock, and what are they? Are they warlocks?"
They are with me, and that will suffice you. Now, we are here to speak with Mad Maggie.
Okay. One of the other ones, Anduriel, you notice something odd about him. His cap is not red. It's green, actually. It's green and brown, and it looks just as nasty as those red caps that have to be drenched in blood in order for the red caps to maintain their existence.
What does
But
he
some
dress
of the-
himself in if his cap is brown and green?
That you would have to get a closer look at it, but it's brown, mostly green, a little bit brown, a little bit yellow. I mean, whatever they're dipping it in, it's not blood, or at least it's not human blood. So you say they're with me, and one of the ones in the green caps at the end, there look to be like maybe, I don't know, 9 of them up there. One of them says, "They're with you." Ah, he dates halflings. They all lose it. Then there's just all this ruckus laughing, like he's like, "Somebody's got a girlfriend and a boyfriend." Woo! Like,
Red caps.
Oh my goodness.
all right. The one that spoke up the first time leans over again and leans out and goes, "What do you want?"
I told you what we wanted, you simpleton. We're here to see and speak with Mad Maggie.
"Why should Mad Maggie want to speak with you?"
What does it matter to you? You're to
right.
admit us right away.
All right. There's a lot of conversation as they're up there, like whispering amongst themselves. And it leans back over and it turns back and it goes, "Did you bring a gift?"
So he's going to turn to the my companions here. Does anyone have something we can give these creatures?
Let me check.
Well, let's do. I mean, we should probably roll a little bit of a knowledge check to see what they would accept as a gift.
I've never
I'm going
seen
to.
these before. What do they like?
Okay. You may make a knowledge religion check to see if you have any idea what might serve as a gift in the hells to a bunch of red caps.
30 with my bonus. Yeah.
10.
Okay.
12.
All right. So Odelia's like, "Some fresh water, maybe?" And Thor, you're like, "Do they like bugs? I have bugs." Like,
I do have bugs.
all right. So Andira, you realize they are going to be of no help to you whatsoever. Odelia's like looking, she's getting out hot sauce. I mean, it's just nothing, whatever. And you realize that here in the hells, a gift is all about what is going to be most advantageous to a creature of the hells. an Avernian warlord, you would want slaves, maybe, or weapons of some kind, or perhaps, something of value like a soul. The big trafficking item down here is selling souls. So unless you have a weapon or some kind of a magical item or some kind of a slave or something like that, there you're not going to information. Also, I mean, it would have to be of interest to Mad Maggie for it to be an acceptable gift, and next to nothing about her except that she's a night hag.
What we have is for Mad Maggie alone. Should you keep us from her, I imagine her disposition towards you would not be pleasant.
All right. It goes, Mama Maggie loves us. We're the babies. Yes, we are. And they start dancing again. Up and up. Baby, baby, baby. And one of the red caps.
You are not babies.
One of the red caps leaps into one of the other red caps' arms, and they begin rocking it back and forth like it's a baby, while the other ones dance around in a circle going, baby, baby, babies.
What does Mother do when her babies are being naughty?
Ooh. Never mind.
Andrea, make a diplomacy check.
I don't have a bonus for that, so here we go. That's a 17 on the dice, so 21 with my level.
Half your level and your charisma modifier.
21. 25.
Okay. So you say that, and one of the caps goes, Mommy spanks with claws. Ow! And then a bunch of them shudder, and they're like, ugh. And a bucket comes flying over on a rope, and it thuds and clanks right in front of you. And it says, Mad Maggie's standard fare. Everybody cuts a lock of their hair.
And Uriel pulls out his kukri and cuts a little lock of his hair.
Okay. You do that, and Captain Karen, who is kind of in the back, she goes, What are you doing?
I'm giving them a lock of my hair. What does it look like I'm doing?
You're giving hell creatures locks of your hair?
Did I stutter? I'm Anduriel, warlock, cleric.
You priests are friggin' weird.
Do you have a better suggestion, Captain, of how we're to gain entry?
I don't know. Okay.
And Duriel, do you think does Thora think he can fit in the bucket if he's just scarabs?
Oh. Well, you are a medium creature, and you usually have to take up a medium creature's mass when you shift shape, unless you take another feat. There are feats that you can take that will allow you to take on a tiny creature's form if you want to.
I don't think I did that.
You could technically possibly crawl up the rope, but it shouts out again, Mad Maggie's standard fare. Got to cut off a lock of your hair. She won't let you in.
She won't let us in.
Okay.
Well, what's the harm of giving her a lock of our hair? What can we do with it?
Hags are strange.
A creature like her could do quite a lot, actually, with a bit of hair, a bit of blood. Their magic is very powerful. If I've understood the ogres, some of what the ogre could do, or what he could have done, being trained by the hag himself.
All right, Thora, do you put your hair in the bucket? You all sitting there waiting, or Anduriel, you put your hair in the bucket, or no?
He puts he goes to put his hair in the bucket, and he does like a sleight of hand where he kind of pulls it back.
Okay, you're gonna have to make a thievery check.
That is a 3 on the dice, so that's not gonna work.
Okay, so Anduriel, you're like, ha. You blow there's hair in the air in front of you, like it falls onto the ground. And the red cap yells down, "No cheating! A lock of your hair! You're not getting in there!"
What does your mother do with the hair? Do we get it back when we're done?
I don't know. I don't ask what you don't ask Mad Maggie questions. You do what she says, and then Mama feeds you. And they all start dancing up and down. Mama feeds you, and giggling.
Fine.
And Duriel, before you do, I have an idea. I don't know if anyone will like it, though.
Proceed.
Turn into a deer and let them shave you?
Nope. I think, like you had said, Thora is just going to, as he does, melt into beetles. And he is going to begin climbing the rope.
Okay.
And it's just like just nasty sounds.
All right. Thora, you start climbing up the rope, and they look at and they start shaking the rope violently, trying to shake you off.
Okay.
Would you please make an endurance check?
I'm good at that one. Oh, wait, that flew way away. 17?
Okay. Unfortunately, a 17 is not quite high enough for you to make the climb check. You do start climbing up the rope, and you get up to part of it, but they start shaking it, and you can't make any progress because the bugs are falling off.
Gotcha.
So you're still on the rope. You have not fallen off of it, but this round, you're not able to make progress.
Gotcha.
And then one of the little red caps comes out, and it comes out with what looks like a cannonball. And it says, "Don't make us blow up the bucket!" And the other two on the side of him go, shake him and go, "Blow up the bucket! Do it! Blow up the bucket!"
There's no need for that. Don't be hasty. And Duriel's going to put his hair in the bucket.
Okay.
Fine then. And I hold out a lock of my hair for Anduriel to cut it off.
Okay. So you dump your hair in the bucket, and up it goes. Okay. They take it up, reach in, and the red cap that is talking very carefully pulls out all of the locks of your hair and kind of tries to just wrap them up together as one, put some string around it, and he puts it on his head, and he goes, "Ooh la la!" And he starts dancing back and forth like he's some kind of a tavern dancer, perhaps, going la 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 la.
I do not like them at all.
And Duriel's going to be like, well, that's actually a best case scenario for what they could be using the hair for, actually. So,
does this seem like it was meant for the other party? They're much more impulsive than we are.
I don't know, but
okay,
but we need to get in.
That it continues dancing around with its Anduriel, Odelia, Thora wig, and they're all hysterically laughing. And then you hear a bird screech, like just kind of this screeching sound that a bird makes when it squawks, and it kind of echoes behind them, and then the gates begin to open. Now, when I say the gates begin to open, I don't mean like, that is what a gate would do if it were well constructed. This is more of a like as they're pulling it, there's who knows, there's some troll possibly pulling it inside the wall. They do manage to create an opening large enough for you to walk through, and you do enter. So you come in, you walk through, and you see pretty much a junkyard. You couldn't really tell from where you were up in the sky what all of these structures were. But as you're looking around, you see they're all like piles of refuse and scrap metal and all kinds of this place is just a monument to scrap heaps. And a lot of it is machinery. There are wheels, there are, old chariots. Like I said, there's rampart. I mean, just anything made of metal, plowshare, anything, buckets, tools, has all been heaped up into these junk piles. Lots of wheels, lots of items that you don't even recognize what they are, that are parts of machinery. And off in the distance, kind of in the center of this place, there look to be several more metallic structures off in the distance. But you see, standing like on the other side of the gate with about 5 little red caps, like kind of dancing around him, is a bird-like creature that has black downy feathers and a long yellow beak. And it is definitely a kenku, which is a race of bird people. And it looks up at you, and some of the red caps come dancing around you and kind of pull your hands towards there. And Odelia, one of the little red caps walks over to you, while the rest of them are pulling over, and it looks really sad. And it actually has tears in its eyes. And it looks up and it goes, "Mama?"
Oh.
And it does the pick-a-me thing.
Okay,
does Anduriel see this?
Terrible.
Oh yeah.
Anduriel's gonna come over and
just look at Anduriel like
he's gonna come over and try to smack the thing's hands and say, "Keep your distance."
Okay, Anduriel, you smack the hands.
No.
You smack this thing's hands, say, "Keep your distance," and it bursts into the most pathetic stream of tears. It goes,
"Oh, little one! Oh, that's too much for Odelia." She kneels down in front of it.
Okay.
"Oh, little one, are you all right?"
All right, you kneel down in front of him, Odelia, and it jumps up and grabs you and goes, "Mama!" And it grabs onto you and hugs you around the neck.
Maybe they're not all so bad. And
no, they're all horrible. No,
and it nuzzles its head into you and just holds on to you, Odelia. It's actually smaller than you are. This thing is a tiny size. It actually looks like it's smaller than the other red caps that are more or less about your size, a bit smaller. But it just kind of holds on to you and goes, "Mama."
I'm having a little flashback to that moment in Galaxy Quest when there's like the little one that they're like, "Oh, look, it's injured."
Yeah.
Like, this is all gonna go really, really poorly.
And then it bares its fangs.
Yeah. But Odelia has officially been sucked in by this.
Okay.
And she's just she's still grossed out, but her motherly instincts have taken over, and she's just kind of, she can't really find anything to stroke, but she's just kind of patting it.
Okay.
"Oh, it's
I would
all
like
right, little one."
all of you to make an insight check and see how well you are reading this thing.
Oh, baby. 16.
21.
A 20.
Okay. So all 3 of you pick up more or less the same thing. This thing looks sad. This little red cap looks lonely. And it just looks like it's been through, say it with me, hell.
Oh.
So, and it just looks like it's worn down. And you wonder, as you're looking at it and thinking that these feelings probably aren't fabricated, whether or not hell really has worn it down. Redcap's homes are the Feywild, and while they're murderous creatures by nature in order to maintain their existence, that doesn't mean that they're immune to the effects of Avernus. And so you enter Knucklebone Fortress, the home of Mad Maggie, and that is where we will leave things for the evening.
Ooh.
Myself a wee pet.
And and Odelia, has herself a wee pet, and hopefully it won't turn out to be like the Galaxy Quest monster, because
The thing's
that
having
would
a
be
rare
interesting.
moment of lucidity, and then all of a sudden it's going to go crazy again.
It's gonna.
Okay. Well, we here on Holy Rollerz like to finish up our stream with an inspirational thought of some kind. And we usually take turns doing that. Being that we have now started new streams, this is our first time with this group. I will go ahead and lead off with our inspirational thought for the night. I had another thought, but one of the thoughts that I was going to share, I just decided maybe we'll save for later. Tommy and I were actually having a conversation beforehand as we were talking about things that our children have been through. And my child actually had a heart transplant when he was 2 years old, and he is 8 years old now. He is a very healthy, happy, almost normal little boy. He's my son, so I don't know that I would say he's completely normal, but give him time.
Let's not go that far.
But let's not jump on that bandwagon just yet. But too soon to tell. But the message that I have for tonight is this, which kind of goes along with the way our stream ended. We were in the hospital 17 times with this kid. We had 17 hospitalizations over 2 years. Holly and I were living in the hospital off and on. We were taking turns. And I have this to say about that. Children are worth it. My kids are 100% worth it. I love and adore my children. They do frustrate. They do push you as hard as you can go. And I'm not saying that I think everybody is cut out to be a parent, but I do think that kids are worth it. And they're worth the time that it takes to help them. I'm a teacher also, so I'm certainly biased to some extent in that direction. But I just want to say to anybody out there who may be on the fence about children, I did not want children. I had no intention of having them. But I always had in the back of my mind that idea that Jesus said, "Suffer the little children to come unto me." And I always hated that scripture because I don't like little kids. And I've never really liked little kids. But I find that my capacity to love children has grown and has increased. So if you are like me and you are one of those people who doesn't like little kids and maybe didn't want to have little kids, and I did not, keep an open mind. And when you're ready to take that step, then great, if you feel that ready. And if not, there's always an opportunity to serve children, and they need people to love them. And that's the thought. That's all I have for tonight. Anybody want to add to that?
Well, I'll go.
I saw a post on Instagram the other day that just about summed up parenthood in a nutshell for me. It was somebody just talking about their kids, and she said, "Loving them is the easiest thing I've ever done. Parenting them is the hardest thing I've ever done." And I thought that really hits the nail on the head in so many ways. But it's true. It really, it's worth all the
stuff.
Don't even have words.
Yeah. For reasons I'm not comfortable sharing, my girlfriend and I are not having kids for
Perfectly
a
valid
mechanical reason. But that leaves us open to donate to St. Jude, to children's. There's a place here in the city I live in, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but essentially it's a place where children can be safe in the event that their home is not. And it's completely free. It's all nonprofit. So like, even if you can't have kids for one reason or another, just find a way to help them. I was the voice in a narration video for an organization founded by the Sisters of Notre Dame called Double Arc, which is a organization that helps teachers with kids with fetal alcohol syndrome.
Mm.
Their 50th anniversary video I did the voice for, and it was one of the most powerful experiences of my life, because I've been on record on here saying that I am not super spiritual, but I believe in people. And the room was packed. for their 50th anniversary. Couple thousand people just in a room celebrating the fact that this organization is helping people, children specifically.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Always try and find some way to help, even if
it's not killing them in the movie theater, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. JT, anything you want to add?
I mean, I love kids. I always have, and I think it's because of that special innocence, that special. I think being around and dealing with kids when I do my kids' friends or church classes that I teach, it kind of reminds me to maybe look at the world a little bit as a child would, and I start to appreciate a little bit more the things that I have, and it makes me a little more grateful just to be alive. So I echo what everybody said. It's great.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, JT. Thank you, John. All beautiful sentiments and worthy of consideration. So consider that. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Next week, we will be on with our other stream back in El Terrell, figuring out what's going on in the other part of hell. Until then, have a wonderful night and thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.